To paraphrase Alexander Solzhenitsyn, they know they are lying. We know they are lying. We know that they know they are lying, and yet they are still lying. Silence, censor, gaslight, shadow ban, regular old ban, delete, demonetize, and deplatform. These are all insidious ways to discourage freedom of speech, a pillar of a free society. We swim through the lies daily. We swim through lies about the security of our border, about the health of our economy, about the exit from Afghanistan. It just goes on and on. But the worst of all, to me, are the lies about this terrible virus, labeling everything outside the narrative as misinformation, including its origins. Just as bad are the lies of omission, suppressing discussion about safe, effective treatments. These lies are taking lives. Attacked from numerous fronts, I would sadly argue that since slavery, liberty has never been more in jeopardy in this country. So if you love liberty, if you love your freedom, you too need to speak up. Even when, and especially if it's uncomfortable, there's just too much at stake. And tonight's speaker can do that like no other. Can you imagine what it must have been like for the schoolyard bully to encounter the young Judge Jeanine? She knows many have been lying for a long time. She's used her spirit and her life force to make sure you know as well. So Oprah used to be described as America's best friend. Do you remember that? Because she had that talent to make people feel kind of comfy and at ease. I would argue that what you really need is a friend like Judge Jeanine. Yeah, you know she would tell you if you had spinach in your teeth, right? And would probably use the power of the microphone and probably, if needed, her 6-inch stilettos to defend you and any other innocent party, right? The judge's presentation here was frustratingly delayed for a year, but as things sometimes do, I think the timing worked out perfectly, because no one uses her voice better to stand up to bullies, liars, petty tyrants, corrupt politicians, thugs and criminals like the judge, and that's what we have on full parade. America loves Judge Jeanine because Judge Jeanine speaks up, not with sophomoric, snarky stabs, but with the hard, blunt truth. Outspoken especially on behalf of real victims in her extensive career as a prosecutor, she now regularly challenges the widespread promotion of tyranny over freedom in our nation. She asks tough questions and doesn't swallow the narrative. In addition to her phenomenal success as a district attorney, a judge, and the host of her own TV show on Fox, Jeanine is now in a new movie called God Is Not Dead, about how far government can reach into our lives. So let tonight be an inspiration. Let tonight's speaker remind you of the power of peacefully, relentlessly, boldly speaking up. Use your voice for truth. Be a protector of liberty. Ladies and gentlemen, the charming, funny, and fierce Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, Santa Clara County. Hello, California. My thanks to the Calvary Church and to Keone Murphy and the Liberty Forum, to my friend Jane Kearney, and I can honestly say she's my friend because we've been working on this for over 2 years. The pandemic got in the way, and thank you to VAC and Neil Mammon, and thank you all for coming out tonight. And I want to welcome you to the United States of America, where the borders are open and the schools are closed. where the illegals walk maskless through the United States and our children have to wear masks 8 hours a day in school, where the citizens are mandated to take a vaccine if they want to keep their job, but the illegals have the absolute legal right to refuse to be vaccinated. To the United States of America, where the big box companies are thriving, and after the pandemic, the mom and pop stores are either done or barely surviving. And where America's frontline heroes, the police, the EMT, all of the people in hospitals, they were the heroes for us. Now they're getting fired if they don't get the vaccine. And right now, those frontline workers who are getting fired are juxtaposed against the illegals who come to this country, who make a decision that they're going to cross the border and violate our laws from the first instance, and the Biden administration is more than happy to fly them into the interior of the United States without knowledge to you in every town, village, and city, and every school in this country. And make no mistake, it is a plan, it is a predetermined plan to make sure that the Democrats run the United States of America. Now, I am a prosecutor. It's who I am. It's how I see the world. It's in my DNA. I believe in law and order, and I believe in truth and justice, and I believe in consequences when there are violations of the law. We are living in a nation today where there are no consequences if you're on the left, but God help you if you're on the right. We're living in the United States where we have the freedom of speech, supposedly, but if you're in the Army and you say something against a decision to get out of Afghanistan, you're going to be court-martialed and you're going to lose your job. You're going to be dishonorably discharged. Your wife is going to leave you and your life is over. This is not the United States of America that our founding fathers created, and they wouldn't recognize this country the way it's being run today. So tonight what I want to do is I want to talk to you about truth and justice, law and order, and the lies that we are being sold every day. And we have to give one man credit for showing us the fact that the media, the mainstream media, is nothing more than the cheerleading squad for the Democrat Party. They are no longer journalists. They are no longer about truth and journalism. There are no consequences to them if they make a mistake or if they state something that's not true. In fact, it's just like a point of information. Oh, isn't that interesting? Katie Couric, you know, she was such a fan of Ruth Bader Ginsburg that she decided to leave out the fact that Ruth Bader Ginsburg criticized the Colin Kaepernicks of the world, who took a knee to the American flag and to the national anthem. Katie Couric wouldn't put that in her article, and she said that she was protecting RBG. She wasn't protecting RBG. She was carrying out the leftist liberal narrative that it's okay to hate America. Well, I don't believe it's okay to hate America. My father fought in a war for this country, and my grandfather fought in a war, and there are veterans in this audience right now, and there's law enforcement in this audience right now, people who put their lives on the line every day because we believe in this nation. And the left and the naysayers want to destroy it. I've got no issue here. I'm a prosecutor. Yeah, I ran for office 5 times. I had to run for office to be the DA. I had to run for office to be a judge. I won. And, you know, for me, it was the opportunity and the way I could get to do my job. And I spent 3 decades fighting for the silent victims of crime. We don't pay much attention to them. You know, whenever crime is visited upon an individual, their life and the lives of everyone who know and love them is changed. There's a ripple effect. We don't really pay much attention to it, but their lives are forever changed because a criminal made a decision to victimize another human being. They didn't do anything. They didn't ask for it. But all of a sudden, like a thunderbolt, their lives are disrupted, many of them lost, many of them maimed forever. My job, and the job that I loved for 32 years, was to fight the fight in the trenches every day where the battle between good and evil unfolded. And we did everything we could. And I ran a DA's office to make sure that the victims were protected. You know, did you know that there are no constitutional rights for victims? That the constitutional rights are for the criminal. The right to remain silent, the search and seizure, to not incriminate yourself, the right to counsel, due process, equal protection, all that stuff. Victims have no rights. They only have interests. I changed that when I was the DA. My office's foundation was for the victim, the person who never chose to be a part of the system. And I hate that they give the system, the criminal, top billing. It's called the criminal justice system. It shouldn't be the criminal justice system. It should be the victim's justice system, the person who never asked to be a part of the system in the first place. You know, I started one of the first, if not the first, domestic violence unit in the nation. It was 1978. I was a young prosecutor. Don't start adding up to figure out how old I am either. I'm no spring chicken, but that's okay. That's okay. And you know, when they brought out this Gabby Petito case, I said, she's a battered woman. Everybody says, oh, Jeanine, you just did that. Mark my words. And I said, he strangled her too. When we found out it was a homicide, he strangled her. How'd I know he strangled her? Because when you want to kill someone and it's personal, it's like the law of the jungle. You go for the jugular and you kill them by their neck. All right? And what's going to happen when the trial happens is all his constitutional rights, for whomever it might be who killed her, gee, I wonder. And they'll start the smoke and mirrors and the campaign that, you know, it was her fault or this or that. And as a judge, when I sat on the bench, I used to hate it when they get on the stand and lie. I hate it. I just hate when people lie to me. In fact, I wrote a book called Don't Lie to Me. I'm going to sell it out there too. I used to say it to my kids, don't lie to me. And that's when you'd see them go in the other direction. The good kids now. My daughter is a lawyer. She's smarter than I am. She went into civil law. So she's an equity partner in a big law firm. They do like mergers and acquisitions and all that stuff. And she called, I remember she was in college and it was voicemail. Or maybe she was in law school. She's in law school. And you know, the voicemail was kind of choppy. And it said, Mom, I'm so excited. I'm in a new class. And it's called, what did she say it was called? Something about a murder. And I was so excited. And I said, Kiki, I'm so happy. You're going to do what I did. And she said, no, Mom, it's not that. I'm excited about mergers, not murders. You know, I got to give it to her. You run for office 5 times in New York, and you know, it's a blood sport. I got the scores to prove it. It's pretty bad. The last race I ran was for Attorney General. I lost that race. I won 4, lost the last one. And one of the issues that I campaigned on was pedophiles, sexual assaulters. Guess who I ran against? Andrew Cuomo. But I guess there is some justice in the end. He's gone. Yeah. And Robert Durst. Anybody watch The Jinx? Robert Durst, HBO The Jinx. That was my case. I opened it. I opened it in 1999. It was a cold case. And I said back then, I said, her husband killed her. She was missing. The guy goes into the police department in New York City with a picture of his father on the front of a magazine. And his father they owned half of New York City. And he said, my wife, a 4th-year medical student, my wife ran away with another guy. You know what the cop said? Makes sense to me. They closed the case. They closed the case. 20 years later, I reopen it. And they went after me. I won't waste your time on it, but watch The Jinx. And the dirtbag just got convicted of murder in LA last week. Sooner or later. Sooner or later. All right, enough about that. But I hate it when people lie to me. So I go to Fox News, and I have this show, and it's going to be a political show. I had some experience. And I said to myself, my gosh, this is really a criminal show. There's more crime going on in Washington, D.C. than there is in criminal courtrooms across the country today. There's more perjury, there's more lying, there's more corruption, there's more evil, and you are seeing it thanks to Donald Trump. Now, I know Donald Trump. I love Donald Trump. I do. Now, my then husband was his lawyer. We used to fly to Palm Beach with him every weekend from New York because we had a house down there. He had a house down there. His kids were little. My kids were little. He's a great guy. What they did to him when he made the decision to run for president and put an R next to his name, it was an outrage. This is a man who helped everybody. This is a man who went into kitchens and thanked people decades before he was in politics, and thanked the kitchen help and took care of them. This is a guy when a hard hat or a cop was walking down the street and Donald Trump was walking down, I'd be walking with him. They would say, oh, Mr. Trump, Mr. Trump. He would take his time. He would say hello to them, and they tried to destroy this man. And he took incoming every day. And son of a gun, he's still standing. You know what? Yeah. And I said, there's got to be divine intervention here. You know, I'm a Christian. I believe in that. I believe in divine intervention. I believe he has a role. I believe in that man. When he says, I'm going to bring Merry Christmas back, I was like, thank goodness. I mean, you're in New York, you're so neutered about everything. You can't say anything. So when he was president, I'd go in and, you know, they'd say, thank you, happy holidays. And I'd say, Merry Christmas. And they'd like, Merry Christmas, you Grinch. All right, let's talk about a few truths before we get into the lies. A few truths. You know that Russia collusion? That was nonsense. And for 3.5 years, our country was fractured. It was broken. We were at each other's throats. The left, I don't know about you, but for me, all my friends who were, you know, on the left, they didn't want to know me. They didn't want to talk to me. They defriended me and all this. And I'm like, hey, I'm still Jeanine, you know. No, wouldn't tolerate it. They wouldn't tolerate it. But they were convinced that Donald Trump was a Putin puppet, a Russian asset. He was going to undermine democracy, according to Nancy. How far is she from where we are? Where is that woman? How far is she? Up? How come she keeps getting elected? They're going like this. Gee, I wonder what that means. She's a wealthy woman now, isn't she? She wasn't so wealthy when they started, were they? I hate that. I hate that people get into politics. Mediocre means. We know what they have, and they leave multi-millionaires, you know, and then they pass laws that don't make them accountable. So that, oh, I can buy stock if I hear about it ahead of time, or I'm going to buy that plot of land near I-84 because I hear there's going to be a lot of development there. This is nonsense. Nonsense. I'm a good girl. I know I'm in a church. My mother used to say to me, rest in peace, she'd say, Jeanine, I did not teach you to speak like that. I said, Ma, I worked with cops for 32 years. What'd you expect? The bottom line is, they sold us a bill of goods, and even Bob Mueller couldn't find a connection. But they lied to us. Schiff lied to us. He had proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And Nancy and her pals impeached him in something worthy of medieval times, a star chamber in the basement. It didn't matter. All of a sudden, truth and justice did not matter. The way things were supposed to be done was not the way we were doing things. And then came the election. And during the election, everything that we had heard about Hunter Biden and the money from the Ukraine and the money from, I don't know, Russia, the Russian oligarch, and then the money from Ukraine, Russia, Kazakhstan, there were a few others. So Joe goes over to the Ukraine and he says, if you don't get rid of that prosecutor investigating my son's company, the company he's working for, you're not going to get I think it was million or was it billion? I don't, whatever it was. You're not going to get that money. You know what that's called? It's corruption. It's pay to play. It's using our money to enrich a family. The Biden crime family. Hunter, Joe, the brother, the other brother. They've got contracts all over the world, building homes in Saudi Arabia, all kinds of things that they have no experience in. And of course, now that he's the president, you know, Hunter has agreed that they're not going to know the names of any of the people who are buying his paintings. They're going to keep it silent so that whatever monies are being spent to gain access to the White House are private. Well, here's a problem, stupid. He's at the sales. I mean, who do they think they're kidding? They think we're stupid. He is literally at the sales of the paintings, and they're saying, well, we're keeping at an arm's length. We have no idea who's buying the paintings. Baloney. That's a lie. Is it a lie that Hunter Biden got $1.1 billion from the Chinese government, $100,000 spending spree, $3 million from the wife of a Russian oligarch, the widow, $60,000 a month from Ukraine, an oil company, has no experience in that. Plus the kid's a drug addict. He got rid of a gun where anyone else would be in jail for a felony. And I don't even want to talk about what's on that laptop because they'll cancel me. It's a shame. It's a shame. They don't care about America, and they don't care about you. How awful is it that a president of the United States doesn't believe in America? The president doesn't care about you. I'm sorry to say this. I get no glee from this. There's an American flag that flew in front of my house when I was a kid, and there's one in front of the house I've been in for the last 32 years. I am proud of this country. I am proud of what it has given me. I'm the first kid in my family to even go to college, let alone graduate, go to law school and be a judge and all that stuff. This is the greatest country on earth. My concern, though, is that when Joe Biden decides that he should go to the United Nations and ask them to judge us on whether we're a racist nation. You're asking China to judge us? You're asking countries that don't come anywhere near the level that we have in terms of sophistication and fairness and justice and decency and democracy to judge us? You're ashamed of the United States? You're ashamed of us? What are you doing running this country other than running it into the ground? When Joe Biden makes a decision, to the extent he's making them. You know, you didn't see my show tonight. I taped it yesterday. I'm usually live, just so you know. When you're sitting watching me, to the extent you do, I'm watching you. I mean, 10 years I'm sitting there every Saturday night, and everyone says, my Saturday night I watch you. And I say, well, I'm watching you. I'm live. Joe Biden, when he decides that he's going to leave Afghanistan, and he promises us that no Americans will be left behind. And then, within 3 weeks, we left 10% behind. What's 10%? 10% of what? No, they'll be fine. There is no president in the history of this country who would ever leave Americans behind with a barbaric terrorist group like the Taliban. There is no president in history, whether you like him or dislike him, who doesn't have that core of America the beautiful, America the greatest. But he's got it. How dare a president say the Taliban is businesslike? You're kidding. You call Americans racist and the Taliban is businesslike? The problem with this is deeper than what we see. It always is. But there's a question of whether you believe or you don't believe in the dream that is the United States. When Joe Biden says the military never told me that we needed to keep troops there, he lied to you. Because Austin, Milley, and McKenzie all swore under oath that they told him that they needed 2,500 troops there. He lied. And the guys who worked for him weren't afraid of him. They got up and at least they said it. And the other part of it is, this guy could have watched the Taliban from the spring take over Afghanistan. You look at a map, And Donald Trump said to them, so you can be sitting there and you can say, well, Donald Trump did the plan. That's a bunch of hogwash, okay? That's a New York thing. That's a bunch of hogwash, okay? Donald Trump said, if you touch one hair on an American or anyone else or our Afghan partners, you're going to suffer from my wrath. And they believed him. Now, you know why they believed him? Because he dropped the mother of all bombs on Afghanistan, on the Taliban. MOAB, the mother of all bombs. Why did they believe him? Because when they were killing kids in Syria with chemical weapons, he went in and did a strategic strike and took out the factories. He doesn't play games. He is forceful, and he will protect Americans and protect the innocent. And they hated him for it. They hated him. But have you ever thought about, oh, by the way, this guy Blinken, he's got to go. This guy Sullivan, he's got to go. They're all Obama people, you know that. Blinken, Sullivan, Rice, Merrick Garland, I'll get to him, and all of them, they got to go. So, I mean, this guy, it's not worth our time. They just got to go, trust me. Now, what is it about Afghanistan that forced them to leave so quickly? Why? The Taliban took over. It's not like we couldn't fight them. Why did we give up Bagram? Why did we give up an air base where we had jails with ISIS prisoners in it and make a decision to go to Kabul? Kabul is a cosmopolitan city, and there's an airport in the middle of the city. So we give up a protected barrier, a protected air base with a protected territory around it to go in the middle of a big city where the Taliban is protecting supposedly the people who are told to go to the gate and then told not to go to the gate and then told to go to a different gate. People were beaten. They were killed on the way to that gate, whereas the State Department with this ditz Blinken was trying to tell them to go or not to go. And they said, well, it was ISIS who was a suicide bomber who ended up killing our 13 servicemen and women. Well, wait a minute. The Taliban let ISIS out of the prisons in Bagram. They may be fighting with each other for superiority, but when it comes to them versus us, they hate us. Together they hate us. And that's why those Americans are dead. And Joe Biden and Blinken and all of them have blood on their hands right there. Shame on them. Shame on them. And then the State Department is not helping the digital Dunkirk and all of the veterans. God bless our veterans who are going over there trying to get our allies and the rest of them out. God bless them. Now let's think a little deeper. Now, you know, we got Hunter. And he's got his China connections. 10% goes to the big guy. The big guy who knows nothing about his son's business. He lied from day one. I know nothing about his business. He met with the people from China. They went on Air Force 2 when he was vice president. He's playing golf with them. He's meeting them. Remember Tony Bobulinski? He was a guy who was able to give us intelligence on this. Is anyone prosecuted? No. So what does Afghanistan have that we were so willing to give up? Lithium. Lithium. Who makes lithium batteries? China. And who's got the harebrained idea that we're all going to be driving electric cars by 2030 where the batteries come from China? How much money do you think is going from China to the Biden administration? They're going to tell us what to drive? AOC, who is this woman? Hey, and Ilhan, I got suspended 2 years ago for talking about her. Oh, here's a bracelet. They just fall right off. And for those of you who wrote to Fox or petitioned or called or did whatever you did, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you. All right. So, do you remember when Barack Obama wanted to appoint Merrick Garland to the United States Supreme Court? He was a moderate, right? So there's this guy in Loudoun County. His name is Smith. He's a plumber. Smith has a 9th grade daughter. You know this one? All right. Smith has a 9th grade daughter. He's in Loudoun County in Virginia, where Terry McAuliffe is running against a Republican named Youngkin. Terry McAuliffe is on the board of the Clinton Foundation. Do I need to say any more? And I'm going to tell you one of the things that really is like a thorn in my side. When Republicans have power, they don't know how to use it. When Republicans have power, they forget they have a Department of Justice. They forget they have an FBI. They forget they have access to grand juries. They forget that they have the ability to prosecute. Who was prosecuted in the 4 years when we had the Department of Justice? No one. Not Hillary, nobody. Not Comey, McCabe, Strzok, all of them. Clapper, lying to Congress, none of them. That's a problem with Republicans. If you're a Republican in name only, just as well go over there and sign up with the Democrats, because we don't need you. I'm done with them. We don't need you. So Smith's daughter is in a school in Virginia, Loudoun County. I think it's Pine Valley. I could be wrong. She goes into the girls' bathroom, and a guy goes in the bathroom. He's identifying as a girl that day. He's wearing a skirt, and he rapes her. He forcibly rapes her. And he anally sodomizes her. And then he forces her to do things to him. I say these things easily because I did this for a living for 32 years. She's a 9th grader. They call him to the school to tell him. He gets a little crazy. They call 6 police cars. They come in to calm the guy down. They don't arrest him. He just goes through the roof because his daughter's apparently there. You know what the scene looks like. Maybe you don't. I do. So now there's an issue of critical race theory, of wearing masks, of forcing the kids to be vaccinated, and the using the bathrooms, having transgenders use the bathrooms, or people who identify as another sex that day. So they have a school board hearing. And before the hearing, there's a lot of tension. People are taking sides. In fact, before they even get into the room, they say, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Are you on the side of those crazy people on the right, those Jesus-loving bleeders, some crazy thing like that? It was an attack on Christians, all right? And, are you with us? Are you the rednecks or whatever? And they're going on and on. And parents are getting up and they're upset. I don't want my kid growing up thinking that because he or she is white, that they are an oppressor. Or because someone is black, that they are a victim. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's right. 1619 project. Trump had the 1776 project, but they didn't, they had to get rid of him. So he's about ready to raise his hand because the issue that's going for a vote is whether or not they're going to allow the kids to use each other's bathrooms when they identify as the other sex. He raises his hand. Apparently, a woman says something to him, and don't quote me on this, but there's a bit of a scuffle, and the police immediately come in. They take him out. You see him with his shirt up over his back. You see his underwear. The guy's a plumber. He's got a bit of a little belly here, and he's exposed. He's dragged out, and he's arrested for disorderly conduct. The vote that they were about to take was about the bathrooms. He wanted to express his experience. The superintendent was asked, have there been any sexual assaults in the bathrooms? None that I know of. No sexual assaults. In fact, Time magazine wrote an article about this transgender stuff. There's no problem. Nobody's going to get hurt. This is what he says. Take the guy out. Father's arrested. And the left says, we got it. We got the crazy right-winger. He's perfect. He's white. He's like late 30s, early 40s. He's a plumber. What else was it about him? He was their poster boy as a terrorist. He's a domestic terrorist. They've got the narrative. They're right the narrative. And the National School Board Association writes a letter. And they say, we are being threatened by people like him. They are domestic terrorists, Mr. Garland, Mr. Attorney General. We need your help. Teachers are at stake. School board members are at stake. And they run with the narrative. It's a lie. It is a lie. There's a woke prosecutor, a George Soros prosecutor. District attorney like me, she goes into court to prosecute him. You don't go, if you're the TA, you don't go into court on a low-level crime. She goes in to prosecute him. The kid was supposed to, because he was 15, they had him in juvenile court, he was supposed to plead, but they didn't quite convict him. They moved him to another school where he molested another girl. So, the only person convicted is the father. And Merrick Garland comes in and says, these parents, these white parents, these people who are going after our school boards are domestic terrorists, and we've got to stop them. So the Taliban is not a terrorist, but parents concerned about what their kids are being taught in school are terrorists. God help us. God help us. I'm just going to bring up a couple more things and then I'll open it up to questions. Are we right, time-wise? Okay. All right. Here's a lie. I was putting them all together back there. Email your questions. I'll keep talking. Here's a good one. Al-Qaeda's gone from Afghanistan. That's Joe Biden's response. After we left, they're gone. Are you stupid? They are so happy they've got $87 billion worth of equipment. Joe Biden says, oh, no, it's all been disassembled. Are you kidding? Do you know how upset people in the military are about this? They're coming here, folks. We're their next stop. And I haven't said a word about the border yet because I don't have time. But they're coming through the border. And they're coming to your city. All right, here's another good one from Joe. The Second Amendment, from the day it was passed, limited the type of people who could own a gun and what type of weapon you could own. Really? Did you read that in the Constitution? Oh, this is a good one. We are sending back the vast majority of families that are coming through the border. The border is closed. By the way, you know that drone over the Del Rio Bridge? You know, with all those people? You know whose drone it was? It was a Fox drone. And they stopped it. The FAA stopped it. And then we got our lawyers on it. Drone's gone back again. Oh, here's a dumb one. This is just dumb Joe. Senate Republicans move to confirm Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court in the election year is unconstitutional. I missed that one too. Oh, here's a good one. This is about Trump. If the president had done his job from the beginning, all the people would still be alive who died from COVID. I'm not making this up. Look at the data. I could have a comedy show with this. Such a ditz. Guy is such a ditz. So who's running the country? Come on, give me a name. One person. Obama? All right, so then you know what? You don't have to watch my show tonight because that's my open. There is no question this man is not running the country. This man is incapable of running the country. Plus, he's afraid of somebody. I'm dying to know who it is. I gotta go. I'm not supposed to answer questions. Okay, I've been instructed to call on you first. Oh, no, you. Is that your name? What are you? You know, what? Have you ever heard a president talk? Can you imagine Donald Trump? I've been instructed to call on Saul. Okay. Oh, dear. I'll tell you why I think it's Barack Obama. Because his whole team is working there. Susan Rice and Blinken and Jake Sullivan and Acclaimed and all of them. They're all still working there. And do you remember during the debate, Donald Trump made a big thing when he was running against Biden. He made a big thing about wanting to check earpieces in Biden's ear. And it was reported that the Biden campaign said no. And about a year or a year and a half ago, Barack Obama was asked, what would it be like if he had a third term? It's on my show tonight. I forget the exact quote, but it's something like, you know, I love the job. I love the job. It would be so easy. I wouldn't have to wear a suit every day. You know, I could just convey information. Someone could put a piece in their ear, and I could tell them how to answer all the questions. He told that to Stephen Colbert. Colbert didn't put it on his show, but it was, we were able to find it, although he didn't air it. But it's definitely a legitimate clip. It's very sad that when you think about it, you know this guy's not running the White House. And I don't mean to make fun of him, but and I'm not making fun of him, but I'm angry. I'm angry with his family. I'm angry with his wife. I'm angry that she just walks him around, says, over here, Joe, turn around, Joe. Come over here, Joe. I'm okay, by the way. You know, it's very, very frustrating. So I'm going to end on this. Fauci. I hate the guy. I hated him from the beginning. And they say, oh, no, you can't say bad things about him. Why? What kind of guy works for 7 presidents, then has a job, and is able to then make hundreds of millions of dollars by investing in pharmaceutical companies and lie to us and say, there's no way this came from a biomedical facility. It just went from the animal to human. And you can't use hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin and all that other stuff. I mean, they think we're stupid, like we can't figure out where they're getting the money. And I got news for you. I'm not a doctor. Who is? Somebody here is. They're going to require a vaccine every year, a booster. I don't know that. It's just they want to keep us down and afraid and fearful. This guy Fauci, you don't have to wear a mask. Oh, you got to wear a mask. No, you have to wear 2 masks. But you know what? We're going to give up handshakes. But if you meet somebody on Tinder, it's okay. He said it the same week. But they revere him. And if there's one thing that the socialists want, it's for us to be controlled and for us to be afraid. Inflation is higher than it's been in 13 years. Donald Trump told us exactly what was going to happen. We were energy independent, and they stopped the Keystone Pipeline. And they allowed Putin to have his pipeline. And now we're begging OPEC for their oil. I mean, what do we have to do to get it through America's brain that they are destroying us? I don't want an electric car, okay? I just don't. And I don't want someone telling me I have to wear a mask. It makes me crazy. And you know what? The decision as to whether you should have a vaccine is between you and your doctor. Okay? It's your decision. We're all different. If you've got no issues, maybe do it. Have it. I've got no objection. I don't know enough about it. What I do know is I talk to my doctor, and everyone else should. And you know what? There's a plumber at my house the other day. And I said to him, Anthony, I said, what are you going to do when they mandate the vaccine for your daughter? She's 6. He said, that's when we take her out of school. My wife quits her job and we homeschool. How sad. How sad. It's a sad commentary, but every day they infringe more and more on our freedoms, our freedom of speech, our ability to assemble, to redress our grievances, our ability to say what we want to say that was infringed by political correctness. We get canceled. We get erased. They prevent us from reading things. This is fascism, folks. This is fascism. It is. I can't believe I'm saying it. I will continue to fight. I don't believe that Black Lives Matter should be able to burn down businesses and buildings and neighborhoods and not have any consequences. Not the movement. I have no problem with the movement. I have a problem with the organization that believes in Marxism and believes in getting rid of the nuclear family. I got a problem with that. I got a problem when they can protest, but I can't. I got a problem when I can't go to a funeral in New York, but they can protest. I got a problem when the United States Supreme Court says the Calvary Church in Las Vegas can only do 50 people in the church, but you casinos and you movie theaters, you have at it. Go to the craps table. Go gamble. Go play your game of chance, but don't you dare go to a church with more than 50 people. I'm embarrassed by that decision because there is a freedom of religion. There is no freedom to play a game of chance. And you know what's next? What's next is they're going to take your guns. They've already taken our ammunition. Guns are next. They ain't taking my guns. I may be from New York City, and I may be wearing high heels and not cowboy boots, but they ain't taking my guns. They're not. And you know what? I'll tell you this. They defund the police. The more they defund them, the less chance you get of protecting yourself. You got to go out and get a gun. Learn how to use it. Be prepared to use it. I don't care if it's a long gun or a handgun. You got to protect yourselves and your family. I'm not instigating any kind of anarchy. I'm not instigating any kind of trouble. All I want you to do is to be prepared. They hate police. You know why they hate police? Because they want to have a national police force that's run by the feds. You don't want that, because then we're right in Germany territory. In any event, I love you all, but I've been fighting the fight, and I got a lot of scars. I don't care. You got to fight the fight. You've got to get out there. You've got to be able to make sure that you don't let anyone silence you. You don't let anyone cancel you. You make sure that you educate the kids and your grandkids as to what is right and what is wrong about this country. And I believe that in 2021, 2022, and 2024, if we are true to ourselves, that we can take the country back. But if we don't, we're in big trouble. Let's take it back. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you.
So a few months ago, I guess it's good to make a confession in church, even if it's not a Catholic church, right? A few months ago, I had to call, I was very worried. I was very concerned by what I was seeing. So I called Adult Protective Services in Washington, D.C., because I'm a mandated reporter. And I said, there's a man, an elder person, who's being abused. I said, he's signing, people are making him sign things, and he says he doesn't know what he's signing. He doesn't know what he's signing. He said it out loud with people behind him, right? And Jill pulls him around like a pull toy, right? I said, this is elder abuse, and if this was happening in anybody else's family, he could never sign documents. The family would go to jail for making him do it. So Jeanine, you had a guy whose cognitive impairment, which you don't have to be a professional to notice, and I'm sorry for anybody who has a cognitive impairment, but they were hiding his impairment in the basement for a year before the election. Is there no legal culpability for putting somebody with that much of a deficit in office? Is there nobody who's going to have to take responsibility?
We've lost control of the country. We've lost control. Republicans wouldn't dare do it. Plus, we don't have the House. If we get the House in 2022, and I think we can, then they can impeach. But what is the result? You get the cackling Kamala. I mean, have you ever seen a vice president like that one in your life? All she does is giggle. I mean, she's talking to 15-year-olds like you could see with your own eyes on the moon, with your own eyes on the moon. That's why I didn't want to get rid of him. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. COVID was like a curtain, and he hid behind the COVID curtain. And he was able to withstand all of the questions and not answer them because he was protected by his wife and COVID. And I don't know if people hated Donald Trump as much as they say, but in the end, he is the president. And if we get rid of Kamala, then you got Nancy.
I really want to make sure to get this one in because this is very special. My name is Katie McLean, and I'm a freshman at West Valley College. As a young American that's a part of the next generation, do you have any advice for me and my fellow peers on how to educate others and defend my rights in a way that we don't get cancel culture?
I think the most important thing, she's a freshman, is that what you said?
In college.
Yeah. She's a freshman. All right. First of all, God bless you.
Katie, where are you?
Being here.
Put your hand up.
Asking the question. Very proud of you. Very proud of you. You've got the right stuff already. All right? And what I want you to do is I want you to join Turning Point with Charlie Kirk And I want you to be able to answer every issue, every push. And you know what? It's hard when you're young. It's hard. It is. It's hard to have your peers look at you like you're crazy because we're insecure when we're young. You know, when you get to be my age, you're like, a friend of mine says, you're an old bird. I said, you're a real jerk. But, you know, I don't care. I never cared. But what you've got to do is you've got to surround yourself with the facts, and you just have to move forward. And I want you to think about yourself as though there's like pink light over you. Like you have the truth. You know the facts. You know what you have to do. And all the other ones who want to resist you are not important. Join Charlie Kirk's group, Turning Point.
Jeanine, you'll be pleased to know that Charlie Kirk has been on this stage.
Has he?
Yeah, and he came to Liberty Forum when he was just a lad. Both James O'Keefe and Charlie Kirk came to Liberty Forum before they were big shots, and we're really proud of that. Yeah. Okay. So something really horrible just happened in Canada, and the question is, they just mandated compelled speech as part of probation for a pastor who is to insert a 2-paragraph government narrative about vaccines if he dares share his own opinion. Judge, is this kind of mandated speech coming to America? They're saying the pastor who disagrees with vaccines has to give them the national narrative every time he talks, or he can't speak. So he has to say what they think first. In other words, he can't express his opinion without being mandated to express
so they're
a
telling
national
the church
opinion.
what to say?
They're telling
the church what to say. Get ready. Get ready. I just told you about the Supreme Court case, the Calvary Church in Las Vegas. United States Supreme Court voted against the Calvary Church. And so it's coming here. Australia's the worst. Have you watched Australia? I mean, they had a guy who coughed in an elevator, and they had a nationwide search for him. This is crazy town. It's all about the numbers, folks. Because if they get to do this long enough, they will keep us locked down. These small town, small-minded mayors and governors who love the power, who've never had it, you'll lose your business, you'll go to jail, and the church is no exception. You don't have any extra blessing.
All right, so the question is, why does the CDC, the WHO, Congress, Biden's staff, and illegal aliens, why don't they have to get vaccinated, and yet it's mandated to us? How are they getting away with that?
I asked the same question. I mean, why are they legally can refuse to be vaccinated? We're not even testing them. We're testing all of us to go into a building, to go into a restaurant, to go into a supermarket. I don't have to tell you, you know all this. Why? Because the Democrats control Congress right now. We can't get a bill out of the House. Until we change, there's a Democrat House, a Democrat Senate, and the Oval. We had 3. And the president President Trump was working every day to reverse what had happened. And then Obama got back in.
How do we clean up the Department of Justice and the FBI?
You can't clean up the Department of Justice and the FBI. I don't mean to be rude. I've given that one a lot of thought. I worked with the FBI for 32 years as a prosecutor, and they are a political organization, okay? And by the way, did you know that all FBI agents are special FBI agents? There's no FBI agent. You're not Agent Smith. You are Special Agent Smith. They're all special. I don't know where they got that from. Okay? They couldn't figure out the Parkland shooting when they had all the tips ahead of time. They couldn't figure out the Larry Nassar case with those young girls, these Olympic geniuses, and so they dropped that one for a year and just filed it. They couldn't figure out the Tsarnaev brothers and the Boston bombers when they had Russia called the Department of Justice twice and says they're Chechens. They want to kill you in America. The FBI got it and said, no, it's not true. They're good people. We talked to them. You think these people should be involved in fighting any crime? I mean, really, really. And I don't get any glee in saying that. They got a job to do. Do your own job. Don't come in and fight with DAs like me and say, you know, I did internet pedophile sting operations long before anybody did, okay? They come in. Jeanine, want to take that case? What do you mean you want to take the case? It's my case. I did all the work. It's my case. Well, we want to take the case. And they take it. We want to take bank robberies. My guys solved it. I had my own police force. They solved it. Where the hell do you come from? I paid a very dear price for that attitude. Be very careful. Be very careful. And it's right down to the man. They said, oh, it's only on the 7th floor. It's only Comey, Strzok, and McCabe, and the McCabe's girlfriend, Cha-Cha there, whatever her name was. They're so impressed with themselves. They've investigated me twice.
So we have a couple of inside baseball questions, so I'm going to ask them together, okay? Because when Judge Jeanine mentioned AOC, I was sitting over there and I almost laughed out loud. I had this fantasy of them trying to have a conversation, and I thought the judge would just be like, I can't talk to you because you make no sense. But people are wondering if behind the scenes in the last year and a half it's changed at Fox in terms of being able to speak your mind, and if it's harder to work in the news business in the last year and a half.
Because of the pandemic?
Because of the pandemic, certainly, and because of the new administration.
Because of which administration? Biden?
Yes.
Not the Fox administration.
Well, I'll leave it to you if you want to discuss that.
I'm talking. You know what? I did my show from my garage for the last year and a half. I wasn't allowed to go into the building at Fox. Yeah. And I just started going back. And then I had to do it last night because we've been working on this speech for 2 years, and I said, I can't not go to this one. So they said, Jeanine, you're supposed to be back in the building. I said, no, I'll do it from my garage. I'll pre-tape it. I'm just thrilled to be back. And everybody's thrilled to be back. You know, a lot of people are kind of quirky about COVID, you know, especially you've got hair and makeup, doing your hair and makeup. I mean, it's like an hour and a half every day. Like, you want to kill yourself. You just have to sit there when the it's like, I never wear makeup. I can't stand it. But I'm thrilled to be back, and everyone's thrilled to be back. I'm doing a lot more of the 5. I did Castles. I did Castles USA. It's on Fox Nation. I called up. It was during the pandemic. I was ready to blow my brains out. So I said, I want to do a show for Fox Nation. They said, good, Jeanine, what do you want to do? I said, well, I don't want to do a talk show because I'll get in trouble because I'm very frustrated. I said, but I have a great idea. How about I go around and do castles? They said, do we have castles in the country? I said, sure we do. So I went around, I did 2.5 seasons of castles. I'm sick of the castles. That doesn't answer the question. I'm done.
That's fine. What happens, Judge, when you encounter somebody from one of these other lying news networks? When you see somebody from CNN who's just lied, do they look you in the eye and smile and say, oh, hello, Jeanine? Or what is that experience like?
No, I don't see them very often. I mean, I know that the one person that is Cicely Strong, who played me on Saturday Night Live. She played Judge Jeanine for 2 years. And I remember her saying that, you know, I hope that Judge Jeanine, you know, wasn't upset. And I remember saying, no, I laugh about it with my mom. I think it's a hoot when they make fun of you. It's really pretty funny. And my mom, who, bless her soul, but she passed at 91, she and I would just laugh. We'd roar at what they did. But to be honest with you, I don't see many of those other people. And, you know, there would be a hello, but things are so different now. since the Biden administration. I mean, it's just very different. There's a lot of bad blood. There's a lot of tension. You see it on the roads. You see it in stores. People are ready to fight. It's a different world now, and I think that's what they want. They want the people to be angry and ready to revolt, and we can't do that. We cannot do that. It's only the voting booth. You know, whether it's getting people from senior homes to vote, getting young kids to vote, you've got to figure out who you know and how you can get them to the polls. But no, it doesn't matter to me. You know, I can walk down the streets. I was telling this to Jane in New York City, and people might curse me out, you know, because I'm conservative. I remember a guy on a bicycle. He was really got kind of close to the sidewalk. I mean, they're really angry. We're number one, though. I mean, my show is number one. Fox is number one. Thank you. Let's go. Let me do the books. Let's do the books.
Okay. Well, I have to ask you one more question because the angry question is one that came through. So, Jeanine, before we close, and by the way, Janine's going to sell books in the cafe. We have several hundred books. We're so excited, and she doesn't want to. Look how tiny she is. Don't make her carry these home, please.
Look who's talking.
Okay. So anyway, Venmo, checks, cash, borrow money from your friends, do whatever it takes. Come say hello and get a book signed in the cafe afterwards. Jeanine, all of us are wrestling with this question, and it was asked of you. How do you maintain peace and optimism and joy with all the rage? I mean, you're mad as hell, and can I say that here? And everybody here is too, right? So what do you do to keep going? Because you're going. By the way, this woman, she was up till 2 o'clock in the morning at a party last night, flew in from New York. Look at her. No teleprompter, right? Amazing.
You know, this is, you know, Ronald Reagan said it best when he said that America is that shining city on the hill. As a young kid, I always wanted to be a lawyer. It was like my dream. And then I wanted to be the district attorney, and I was a DA, elected 3 times. I was so excited. It was the best job in the world. And I think about it, and I term limited myself. I made a decision not to run again. And I'm excited about this country. This is the greatest country on earth. And Ronald Reagan said it best. He said that freedom isn't passed along to our children, you know, through DNA or through the veins or whatever. You know, we have to fight for it. We have to keep fighting to make sure that the next generation recognizes the importance of freedom. And if we don't do it, no one will do it. We're the last straw. And you know what? I am angry. There's no way I'm going to let corrupt people like the Bidens or countries like China or, you know, barbaric people like the Taliban ruin my life or ruin this country. We're too strong. We're too great. We're revolutionaries. It's in our DNA. We are the American freedom fighters, and we will win. And I will fight until my dying day. I will. Okay, thank you.
Judge Jeanine Pirro.